guys. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule to come listen to what I have to say. And hopefully I give you some information that you can take home with you and use and make it exciting. I know you guys are inundated with PowerPoint, right? You guys are probably really sick of PowerPoint, so guess what? We're doing no PowerPoint. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. Yes, I got an applause on that. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. We have some handouts, and this is what I used to do. So you may have some classes where you're sitting in and it's PowerPoint after PowerPoint. It kind of makes me sound really old because seven years ago I was where you guys are in class, except I wasn't here because this didn't really exist, which makes me sound really old, but you got it. So 7 years ago I was in California, and so I went to Palmer West, and so Palmer West represent. How do you guys do Florida? Whatever. So anyway, so 7 years ago I started chiropractic school, and actually that's not even true. It's been longer than that. I started in 00. So 11 years ago I started chiropractic school. 7 years ago I started my business, and that's what we're talking about. Okay? And so how do you start a chiropractic practice from scratch is our topic today. I got into chiropractic, just real brief, I got into chiropractic, and chiropractic is the reason why I can walk. Okay, so that's a whole long story. I can speak on that for like 2 hours. But basically, I was an emergency C-section. The doctors gave me a 5% chance of making it. I can speak medical with you guys. I don't have to speak down, like when you talk to patients, you can't speak all, give them big, huge med-term words because they won't understand what you're saying. So I can speak it with you guys, though. So my tibias were internally rotated, and my feet were internally rotated, and the doctors were afraid that I wouldn't walk properly. So my parents did not want to take me to an orthopedic surgeon and have my legs have surgery on them because they thought that would really be scary for an infant, especially if she only had 5% chance of making her delivery. And so a friend of the family, and this was I was born in the 70s, a friend of the family said, well, why don't you take her to a doctor of chiropractic? And my parents were like, doctor of chiropractic, what's that? They didn't even know what chiropractic was then. And they did, and through chiropractic adjustments, able to externally rotate or get my legs from not being internally rotated anymore, and I'm able to walk and play sports and run, and I played high school, college, and professional sports. So that's how amazing chiropractic is. That's the field that you guys are going into. And I know sometimes you get a little disenchanted with it because there's so much class, and there's boards, and there's all these little details. Well, guess what? You're in a profession where every single day you can make a difference in people's lives. Yesterday I adjusted a 8-week-old baby. The baby had difficulty with labor. The head got stuck in the mom's birth canal, and so the baby couldn't turn his head to the right. He's so cute. His name is Julian. Super, super little cute baby with big blue eyes, a little bit of hair, and he has this like cute little smile. He's like, and I'm like, oh, and just like melt you. And just little pinky adjustments was able to adjust this kid, and now he's able to turn his head. So we took his little toy and we like shook it, and his head went like this, and his mom's like, oh my gosh, thank God! Because they wanted to give him painkillers because of his neck. They wanted to do crazy stuff to this little infant. And so here we are as chiropractors, we can just do adjustments with our hands, or tools if you need to, but with our hands and make huge differences in people's lives. From little tiny babies to my oldest patient is 98, and he grabs my hand, and he's like, wow, you have strong hands, and he just gives me this like great smile, and I know that I'm helping him naturally. So that's the field that you guys are going into. That's the field that I'm in. So and you guys have all these different options when you graduate. So you can associate, you can open your own practice, and that's what we're talking about. And so there's certain things you want to think about when you go to open your practice. So when you're stuck in class, I didn't say this, okay? When you're stuck in class and you get kind of bored, this is what I used to do. I would write, so in your handout, I used to write, okay, this is what I'm going to call my office. And this is what it's going to look like. I would draw pictures. My husband laughs because I kept the pictures. And some of them are really, really close to what we have now, which is super cool. So I would write like where I want to live and what I want it to be like and what kind of patients I want to see. So Palmer Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, obviously I see a lot of athletes. Any soccer players? All right, one soccer player represent. Any football players? All right, one football player. Gymnasts? One gymnast? All right, good. Okay. So I played all those different sports. And yes, even football. And got his attention. Yes. And so I see a lot of athletes in my practice, in particular those sports, because those are the sports that I play. So pretty cool. So you can actually see athletes in your sport, or athletes if you guys did dance or cheerleading, or if you're artistic or you're into music. Oh my gosh, musicians completely need us. Piano, violin, bending over instruments, all those people, every single person needs us, basically. But it's really, really fun when you attract all these patients that are interested in what you're interested in. Because I had a little patient last night. She was in a soccer tournament at Disney all weekend. And she's like, oh my gosh, Dr. Palmer, we took first place, and we played our team rivals, and they always try to kick our butt, and we won. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. And because she got adjusted, we kept her from pulling her hamstring or her quads or her adductors and that kind of thing. Okay, so down to the nitty-gritty. So you guys want to be thinking about your future practice name, and what does it look like, and really get a good concept of that. Considerations, so where do you want to live is huge. If you hate snow, then it's probably not a good idea to go to New York or the Northeast or in the Northwest, that kind of thing. It sounds really silly to say that, but I have friends who graduated and they got associateships in places they really did not want to live. Okay, so you want to stay in an area that you really, really like. Is family important to you? So family is important to me. That's why I didn't stay in California, because California is a pretty nice place to be. But I loved my parents. My parents are from South Florida, so I wanted to at least be in the same state as them. So that's how I ended up in Orlando, which was kind of crazy because I said, okay, God, I don't want to be in Miami, because I grew up in Miami and I was tired of Miami. And I don't want to be in Orlando, because as a kid, I thought of Orlando as just like Mickey Mouse World, All there was Disney World. And that's all I thought Orlando was. It's just Mickey Mouse, and that's it. And why would you want to live in Orlando? And I'm kind of like a beach bum. So I'm like, I don't want to be in the center of the state that's way too far from the beach. And you guys all know that Orlando is really close to the beach. It's not that far away. So where do you want to live? Do you want to be close to your family? What are your favorite hobbies? So if you like hiking in the mountains, Florida's probably not a good place to live. If you hate hurricanes, then maybe you should live in Florida or along the eastern coast. So keep those things, because you want to be really happy, because once you start your practice, you don't really want to move very much, because it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So what does it take to start a practice? So I'm going to tell you like the early years, right? So remember like the Wonder Years, the early years, or like Seinfeld, the early years. This is like Dr. Palmer, the early years. So my first year of practice, I graduated from Palmer West, June 2004, okay? And I had to wait 6 months to take the Florida boards. So those of you that plan on staying in Florida, you're so lucky that you got rid of Florida boards. You take part 4 now and you're done. Well, you have to take ethics and laws and rules and stuff now. But when I took it, I had to wait 6 months to take the Florida board, so I wasn't licensed and life was hell. Actually, my little sister was getting married. I had just broken up with a boyfriend. This is my husband here, so don't listen to this part, honey. I had just broken up with a boyfriend in California. So I moved to Florida. I had no boyfriend, I had no license, I had no job, and I was living with my parents. Woo! And so my little sister just got engaged, happy for her. And my mom said, well, you're not licensed, you have no job, and you're living with us, you have nothing to do. Why don't you plan your little sister's wedding? That's what I got to do. I got to study for boards and plan my little sister's wedding. And they're like, oh, that's so nice. I would go to different hotels and banquet halls and stuff. They're like, oh, it's so nice that you're helping your older sister with her wedding plans. I'm like, no, actually she's my little sister. They're like, yeah, your older sister. I'm like, no, I'm the older sister. They're like, oh, well, you have a boyfriend, right? I'm like, I just broke up with him. And they're like, oh. So we're talking wedding planners, that's like their life. But I'm like, yeah, kind of a loser right now. That's kind of how you kind of prepare you guys. You kind of feel lost when you graduate chiropractic school, because maybe some of you went from undergrad and then straight into chiropractic school, or you went from undergrad and you went into a different job, and then you realized you really want to be a chiropractor, and now you're in chiropractic school and it's quarter after quarter after quarter, and board after board after board, and then boom, you're done. You're like, yay, I have this diploma. Now what? Okay, so I'm going to tell you the now what. So now what? If you want to start your own practice, you have to decide all those questions we just talked about. A lot of people think you can just get this building or you can rent this space, and people just flood in, and I hate to tell you, that's not the case. You have to actually do stuff to bring people into your practice. So I would go to all these different speakers, kind of like how you guys are today, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the secret formula to starting a practice? Like, what do? Do I have to do this or I have to do that? And basically, the secret is, do you want to know the secret?
Yes.
Okay, yes? Okay, the secret is do what you like, okay? Because if you do what you like, you're going to be happy, And if you're happy, you're going to attract a lot of people. And when you attract a lot of people, you're going to get really happy people that like what you like in your practice. How fun is that? So it's super cool for me to have all these soccer players on my practice because I play soccer and I understand what they're talking about. And I'm there with them. I'm like, that's so cool that you got first place. And it was a 3-day tournament. You played how many games? And there was this mean girl and she kicked you in the shin. And you know what I mean? Like, I get all excited about that. Or I think it's super cool to adjust the 8-week-old baby. So those are the things that I like. So what did I do when I moved to Orlando? Because you know I'm from Miami. I didn't know anybody in Orlando, which is a challenge. Is I started playing soccer. Right? And so now I had these teammates that were coming in to see me. And by the way, teammates aren't always the best. Always aren't always the best. But because I played this, I got involved in the soccer community. And now I'm taking care of the Central Florida Craze for my 7th season. So they're a semi-pro soccer team. They're a feeder league for Major League Soccer. They're a feeder league for pro soccer. It's a whole bunch of college players that play in this season over the summer, and it's super fun for me. My first year in practice, I didn't have that many patients, so I actually traveled all over the U.S. with them. So I'd shut down the practice on Friday, and they would go to Texas, and I'd go to Texas with them, or North Carolina, or Tennessee, and I learned tons. And I got really close with the coaches, and the coaches coach youth academies. And so now I have all these other coaches that know me, and then if a soccer player gets injured, guess where they go? They come see me, because I'm the soccer doctor, because that's my sport. So what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to explain to you guys is the secret of building a practice is get out in the community and do the things you really like. So if you really like playing musical instruments, like the violin, get into a violin group. If you really like art, get into like a ceramic group or a drawing group or whatever. If you did dance or cheerleading, get into that. If you know, whatever you did or whatever you do that's really, really fun, if you mountain climb, where'd that go? They have rock climbing gyms, right? So anything you like, bottom line is do that, okay? Another way you can get patients is join networking groups, okay? But the only way that these networking groups work is if you actually talk to the people in the networking group. And I know that sounds silly, but the first time I went to a networking group, I was shy, and I was like, I don't want to talk to them. These weirdo people keep handing me their card, and I don't know what to say to them and connect to them and that kind of thing. So they have these different networking groups where if you get to know the members, they send you tons of people. Your best patient is somebody who's referred, because they already know who you are, they're already confident in you, they already respect you. Somebody who comes in from your website or from a yellow page ad, which don't even bother doing that, so from your website or just randomly they walk by and they saw their door, those are your more challenging patients because they don't know who you are, they don't have any results with you, they don't know anybody who's been to see you. So you want a referral-based practice. So with these networking groups, so there's a networking group called BNI. It's called Business Networkers International, and the really cool thing about BNI is that they lock out their competition. Okay, so there's only one chiropractor per chapter. There's only one massage therapist per chapter. There's only one type of attorney per chapter. And the purpose of the group is to look for referrals for each other. Super cool. So I built my practice on playing soccer and joining BNI. Okay? The other thing that I did that was very successful is I joined a speaking organization. So I didn't have a fear of public speaking. I actually kind of like it. It's fun for me, especially when you have people like you guys who are paying attention. So thank you guys so much for doing that. So Toastmasters is a speaking organization for people that hate speaking or people that like speaking. But the great thing about Toastmasters is guess what you're going to talk about? Chiropractic! You're going to talk about the things that you like. And when you speak in front of somebody, you become credible to them. So they think that you know what you're talking about, even though sometimes your first year you may kind of question that you know what you're talking about. And even in your 7th year, you're like, oh, what's that again? Type thing, because you don't learn everything in school. There's some things that are going to happen that you're going to be like, what do I do with that? How do I file that Florida paperwork when somebody's in a car accident? Stuff like that. So, but the nice thing about speaking in this Toastmasters organization is you're going to do speeches, become better at speaking, which is going to help grow your practice, and you're going to meet all these other people, and you're going to be speaking about things that you know, which is chiropractic and health and that kind of thing. So that drove a lot of patients to the practice. So the number one thing is get out there, do what you like to do, okay? Join networking groups, actually participate in the networking groups, and then a speaking organization here and there will also help as well. So that's going to bring people to your practice. But that doesn't happen like that. It would be really great if it happens like that. And if there's practice management places coming in here talking to you guys and saying you have to do this and sign this paper and it costs this much and all that, think twice to what you're signing. I had friends that came with certain groups. They got into a practice management group, and the practice management group promised them the world because starting practice is kind of scary because you've never done it before, And they have paid lots and lots of money to these practice management groups. So much to the fact that one of my friends is no longer in practice because he didn't make enough money because he was giving them all their money, type thing. So just beware, you know, I'm not saying they're all bad, because I don't really know all the details about them, but I do know that they take a big chunk of your money. So here you are working your butt off, and they take 20% of your practice for X amount of time. So just beware of that. That's my warning to you guys, type thing. Okay, so I didn't have floods of patients coming in day one. I did all these things to bring patients, so I had to do other things to make money. And so the other things I did to make money is I had this really exciting job at Cracker Barrel. Yes, I worked at Cracker Barrel. So I walked into the Cracker Barrel because I needed money for rent, and I needed money to pay my bills, and I needed money for supplies for the office. And I filled out the application and was kind of embarrassed because I'm a doctor now. I shouldn't have to work at restaurants, right? And I filled out the application, and it says, do you have, you know, like, did you complete school? Did you complete high school? Did you go to certification programs, whatever? So I kind of wrote DC because I was embarrassed to write Doctor of Chiropractic because, you know, I'm a doctor. I shouldn't need to work at Cracker Barrel, right? So I get interviewed by this nice old lady, and she's like, okay, honey. She's Southern, so this is my Southern accent, so bear with me. Okay. So she goes, honey, did you finish high school? And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, well, honey, did you go to any kind of certificate program? And I'm like, kind of. She goes, oh, okay. Well, did you finish your certificate program? And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, well, there's this DC thing here. She's like, is that like a specialized certificate program? And then I figured I really can't like say yes because that would be lying, you know. So I said, no, ma'am. She goes, what does DC stand for? And I said, Doctor of Chiropractic. She goes, oh, and her jaw like hit the table, and she goes, why do you want to work at Cracker Barrel? And I said, because I have bills to pay. And I need money. And she goes, okay, great. So she was really nice. She hired me. I was a cashier. And it was a very interesting dynamic because I would open up the restaurant in my ugly brown apron that said my name. And people would treat me like I was the stupidest person on earth. Honey, can you make change for $5? And I'm like, yeah. But they like asked me like I was an idiot, right? And then I would like Superwoman change clothes, run into the office, put on doctor attire, right? And then somebody would ask me this really serious question about their health. And I would answer that, and then I would change clothes again because I had another job to support myself. And I worked at a big gym in Orlando. Those of you that are familiar with Orlando, I worked at RDV. And I'm actually a strength coach and a personal trainer, but they wouldn't let me do that because I couldn't work full time there. So I got to be that really cool job where you take these people's IDs. So you take their IDs, right? So this is the ID. And you put it through this little slot thing, and you say, good morning. So I would say, good morning, Mrs. Jones. And if you didn't say good morning to Mrs. Jones, she would get really, really mad. So that was my job. So that was a really exciting stuff to do as a doctor. So I kind of had to swallow my pride, and it really, really sucked just to make ends meet in the very beginning. Now maybe you guys can plan better than me. What I would recommend looking back is you guys get some money from the government, right, in the form of student loans, and they give you extra money. Okay, I know you guys don't have to spend all that money. And sometimes we use it for things like spring break trips or nights out on town and stuff like that. Well, if you just start saving a little chunk of that money that you get now, that would be a really nice cushion to start your practice with, right? Aha. Or if you have part-time jobs now, take a little piece of what you would usually use for drinking, put it aside, put it in a bank account, don't touch it, and now you have money to start your practice. So you guys probably all want to know how much money it took to start my practice, right? Okay, well, I've had a portable table in school, right? So you guys probably everybody have portable tables? Okay, so if you don't have one, get one. If there's somebody who's an older quarter student who's graduating and doesn't want them, buy their table. So portable table, I have my hands, right? I know all you guys have laptops. Okay, so laptops, you can get a really cheap program called QuickBooks, and you can use that to track your patient expenses. Actually, well, I'll get to that part later. So you can do it that way. So QuickBooks, a portable table, your computer you already have, you're going to need some file folders. They're not that expensive. It's like $30 for a stack of 50, which will last a long time in the beginning, and then you'll start to go through that a week or so. Some printer paper would probably be good. I bought a 3-in-1 machine, so it faxes, it copies, it prints, right? So Brother makes one, HP makes one, and that's all I had. That was it. That's all I had. I had no money because I wasn't smart. I did dumb things like go from Miami to California to see friends from time to time. So I maxed out a credit card, which was really, really bad. Don't do that. It took me, I paid it off in a year though. So I was very proud of myself, but $18,000 on a credit card after I graduated school because I was bored and I still wanted to go out and have fun, and I was in South Beach, so I went and partied and I drank alcohol and all that stuff that I didn't have money for. So I threw it all on a credit card and I said, I'm a doctor now, I can pay for this. Yeah, and then some of my friends went and they bought these really expensive cars that they don't own anymore because they couldn't afford their practice payments and their car payments. So just be careful of those things. So yeah, so that's all I started the practice on was that equipment, and then my father was very nice and gave me a $2,000 loan. And that was it. And I worked my butt off on the part-time jobs, and patients came in. And so that was then, where did I practice? It's probably a question that you guys have, is I rented space from another chiropractor. So I had one treatment room, and we rented, I rented that space from him. He way overcharged me. Looking back, I paid $1,000 a month for it. How I paid $1,000 a month for it, I have no idea. He wouldn't budge on the price whatsoever. But it was kind of cool because he included his front desk staff. So his front desk would answer my phone. I got my own phone line. She would answer my phone and say whatever I wanted her to say. She would schedule my appointments. She would collect money occasionally. And then I got so busy that I could hire a part-time person. And that part-time person worked for me for 2 days a week. And then I got so busy that I needed her 5 days a week part-time, and then I got so busy that now I have 9 staff members. Yeah, and I outgrew that practice. How many years ago? 7 years ago? No, that's not right. 5 years ago. 5 years ago? Around 5 years ago. I'm really bad.
It's a blur.
Huh?
It's a blur.
In 2007, we bought a commercial freestanding building because I never wanted to have a landlord again. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, so I practiced out of this one little room with my equipment and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew until I grew so big he kicked me out. In my head, I'm like, I'm going to stay here for 5 years, and after 5 years, I'll be able to afford my own place. No, in 2 years, I was able to afford my own place, and I was so big that I was taking up too much space, and I was taking up, would share a massage therapist. All my patients were taking up the massage slots. So he used to schedule fake massage slots so his patients would have time to get massaged. He was in chiropractic for the wrong reason. He was in chiropractic because he wanted to make money. So you want to be in chiropractic, obviously, to take care of people. And if you do it for the right reasons, you will be unbelievably successful. No matter what technique you do, no matter what you look like, no matter how old you are, you will be completely successful. You just have to really care about your patients and do the best you can for them. And then you'll be doing great. Okay, so where are we? What else do I want to answer for you guys? We talked about marketing, we talked about money, we talked about equipment. Oh, doctor salary. So my very first year, I was in the black. Black is the right word.
You've never been in the red.
I've never been in the red. Okay, so my very first year, that first year of hell. So how long did I work at Cracker Barrel? 3 months. That was it. That was the longest 3 months of my life. How long did I work at the gym? 6 months. I didn't want to quit that one because I got a free gym membership. So yeah, so 3 months at hell, Cracker Barrel. The people, well, that's a whole other story. 6 months at the gym, and after that, no more part-time jobs. The practice supported me. And so mainly the money I made, I tried to reinvest into the practice. And I had enough for rent and for food and for my car and all that other stuff. My car was paid for, so that was helpful too. And my first year, my accountant kind of depressed me and said I made as much as a waitress would make in a year. But it wasn't really true because I pulled salary and all that stuff. I think that I grossed 20? I don't remember. So I think I grossed 20 grand or something like that. I collected 20 grand.
There's a difference between what you make in gross revenue lifestyle-wise compared to what you actually take home on taxes.
Yeah, so the really cool thing about being a chiropractor is you're now a business owner. So things become business expenses, like going to lunch with your friends. If you talk about business expense. If you go to Costa Rica, like my husband and I went to Costa Rica on vacation, and we researched yoga, and we ate healthy, and we met this organic chef. business. Seriously. If you want to go to a seminar for chiropractic in Hawaii, business expense. Seriously. Standard process.
That is 100% legal.
That is 100% legal, not sketchy. If you want to go on a standard process cruise to, I think they just went to Europe, business expense. So that's the nice thing about being, I got smiles on that. That's the nice thing about being in business for yourself is you have all these nice business expenses. But you do have to show some profit because IRS will start to question over time if you don't show a profit, how your business is working. So yeah, so the first year my salary sucked. It wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm a doctor. It was like, oh, look at me, I worked at Cracker Barrel and I worked at the gym, and now I have a successful practice type thing. 7 years later, we're on track to collect $500,000, over $500,000. So $500,000 by myself, only one physician. So I think that's really good. I'm cash, okay? So I'm 95% cash. So I've heard that there's certain people telling you guys certain stuff, like if you don't do Medicare, you're gonna fail. That is the biggest I've ever heard, okay? Or if you don't accept insurance, you're gonna fail. That's another whole crock of add your own adjective, okay? So you can be completely successful with a cash practice. So I said I'm 95% cash, maybe 98% cash. The other percentage is PI, okay? So if I have a patient who gets in a car accident, I'm of course going to take care of them. But we don't deal with Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare or anything like that. Why? Because when I first got into practice, I'm a younger doctor. Orlando's got a lot of chiropractors. Miami's got a lot of chiropractors. I mean, big cities are going to have a lot of chiropractors. And that's completely fine because we only adjust like 5% of the population, which we need to step that up because there's a lot of sick people that need us. They don't need a medication. They need a really good chiropractic adjustment, and they need really good nutrition. People need to teach these people how to eat, because if you eat garbage, you're not going to get any better. Okay? In 1895, people were still eating real food. So DD and BJ and all of those guys had miraculous results. I have a chiropractor who's my patient. He's been in practice 40 years. So he said in the good old days, he could adjust somebody and they would have like amazing, miraculous results. Nowadays, not so much. We still get really great results, but what your patients are eating is crucial. If they live on Tostitos and Doritos and Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and if they're just eating processed foods, they're not going to hold their adjustments, and they're going to be like, Doc, I still feel bad. You got to address that component. You cannot ignore it. 1 in 3 children will develop diabetes. Okay. Sorry, I just get really passionate about it. So really, really, really important part of it. So yes, so we're on track to make $500,000 this year. That means we actually collected it. Okay, that means we had that much money in cash and checks and credit cards come through our office. So you'll see a lot of docs, if you go to buy someone else's practice, they'll say, oh yeah, we did $2 million. Okay, great doc. You billed $2 million, but how much money actually came through your building? That's very, very important to ask them, because if they're doing insurance, it's real easy to bill $2 million. Okay, it means they're seeing a lot of patients, which is good, but it doesn't mean they collected $2 million. It's a whole completely difference there. Okay. Got it. So I told you how I set up. I told you how I funded it. I told you where we started from. I told you where we are now. I feel weird. I used to feel really weird talking about money, but I wanted the speakers to say, hey, what is it really like? Because of the practice, we were able to buy a house cash last year. We were able to buy a 2010 car cash last year. We have more money sitting in our operating account. We have 6 figures sitting in our operating account. And we're like, financial planner guy, what do we do with this type thing? So again, I just want to emphasize, it is very, very easy, not easy. It takes hard work, but it is possible to have a cash practice. This is the way of the future, because guys, the government is regulating things and they're not making it pretty for managed care. They're not making it pretty for insurance companies. And that makes it not pretty for us. Yes?
So what'd you do in the middle? Like, you told us how you got your first year.
And where I am now?
Yeah, and then where you are. What was...
I kept doing what I did that worked. I still play soccer. I was supposed to have a game yesterday, but we had a bye. I don't know why I told you that, but I did. So I still play soccer. I still attend the BNI networking meeting. We do in-office promotion, so we do in-office seminars on various health topics.
The BNI aspect, just to give you like a number perspective, it costs us on average about maybe $750 a year for her to be at BNI, and she does it at 7:30 in the morning, so it's not let's say hours, it brings in probably at least 30-40,000 a year.
It's a good investment, right? So the membership's like $400. So when I first joined BNI, I'm like, the membership's, oh, how much money? Do you know how much I have to work at Cracker Barrel to pay for that? Of course, I didn't tell them that. You know, I'm like, oh, okay. But let me tell you, the first week I joined, I got a patient, it paid for itself. Yes?
Okay, so it seems like you technically started as an independent contractor.
No, I did not.
No?
I had nothing to do with him. All I did is rent a room from the man.
And front office
So
services.
that's
That my
independent
rent
contractor.
included, the rent included that she would answer my phone and collect money occasionally. Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not an independent contractor, no
Well, I
association.
thought that was independent contractor.
No,
then.
no, no,
What
no,
is an
no,
independent?
no, independent contractors, they're paying you. He paid me nothing. So, okay, there's very confusing and stuff that you guys probably want to understand. There's independent contractors and employees. So if you are an employee for a chiropractor, they tell you when to come in, they pay your salary, they do your billing, they basically, they tell you jump and you say how high, okay? They pay your taxes, all that stuff. Independent contractor is, you can work in somebody's practice, they can't tell you the hours that you're gonna work, and they pay you a amount of money, but you're responsible for all your taxes. So I would have loved if he paid me. He paid me nothing. All I did was rent a room from the man. That was it.
Okay,
That was it.
okay, so,
So I rented space,
okay.
and my space included his front desk answering the phone occasionally. But I paid for my own files. I paid for my own computer. I paid for my own printer. I had my own phone line. Yeah.
When you rented out that space, did
Yes.
the owner still give you a clause as far as location? Like how far you?
I'm not an independent
Eventually.
contractor. I have nothing to do with him. Yeah. So if you rent space, I mean, it's just like, this is my lease. It's like I go to an apartment complex, I get an apartment, that's a lease. That was our arrangement. Independent contractor is they can give you in your contract, if you're an independent contractor, that your non-compete clause, they're going to tell you when they're going to pay you, they're going to tell you that you're responsible for your own taxes, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and then that independent contractor employee line is very gray. It's a gray area. Any other questions? Yes.
Were you cash right off the bat, or did you
Yes.
decide? Okay.
Yes. So being a younger doc, I couldn't get in network even if I wanted to get in network. And you have to understand, if you're going to open a cash practice, guess how long it takes insurance companies to pay you?
Sweet.
A week?
Yeah, weeks.
Oh, weeks. I thought you said a week. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. No, it takes like a month to 2 months to 3 months to sometimes they just don't pay you for whatever reasons they come up with. So I got this really exciting check from United Healthcare, so I lied a little bit. My first year I wanted, thank you. My first year I wanted to see what insurance would do, so I did accept United Healthcare and Blue Cross out of network, so you have in-network and out-of-network, and I got a check for 2 cents from United Healthcare. And then I saw the patient for like 10 visits. So I said, not doing that. So yes, in the very beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll see what this insurance stuff is all about. If you're in network means that you're agreeing to their, how much they're going to pay you. Okay? So if United Healthcare says it's $10 an adjustment, you say, okay, it's $10 an adjustment. And then they say, oh yeah, we'll feed you tons of patients. Not true. Okay? Or Blue Cross Blue Shield or any of the other companies. So some people do that and they're very successful. For me, I'm not like a numbers person. There's people that are in town with me and they're seeing like 500 patients a week. Good for them, that's not my practice style. I actually like to talk to my patients and see their faces and know things about their lives, and that's just my preference. If you want to see 500 patients a week, I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying that's not my style. It's not my bag, baby. Yeah.
How long do you spend with patients, like on average?
So,
How many do you see a
good
day?
question, very good question. So my first year, I was in clinic mode. So in clinic, you can take, I don't know if you guys have time limits. What was that?
Hours?
Hours, yeah. So you can take hours in clinic, right? So I was still in clinic mode. I would spend a half hour with each patient. So if you do the math, how many patients can you see in a day if you're spending a half hour with each patient?
16.
Yeah, you can't see that many. Yes, 12, 16, 14, depends on how many hours you work. Now I see a patient every 10 minutes, sometimes every 5 minutes. Yes.
How did you decide on your scheduling fee Like what to charge?
I asked the other chiropractor.
Yeah.
I said, hey, what do you charge for an adjustment? And he said 40, and I'm like, that sucks. So I said, I'm doing 50.
When we moved to our own building, I actually did, I called different places and acted like I was a patient. And did kind of surveys.
Good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's the best way to do it because you can't be too higher than that, too much higher than them, and you can't do not be the cheapest.
Yeah.
Because you will not get the best.
And it's really weird, I'll tell you, one of the hardest things the first year in practice was it was really hard going from not getting paid any, like I think you guys should get paid to be in clinic. Like I think Palmer should give you a check so you know what it feels like to get paid. Because my first year in practice I was like, don't worry about it, it's okay. Yeah, because it felt weird trying to collect money for people. Like I'm like, I don't know how, you know, like as far as charging people, and it just was really weird and random. Oh yeah, getting a credit card machine would be really good too. Yes.
Did you try any marketing techniques that did not work?
Oh yeah, I joined this women's network. Nothing against women. We're in a women's club. Women's networking group. And I thought, oh, perfect, because a lot of times the ideal patient for chiropractors are women. Why women? Because women make the decisions for the family. They bring the kids in. They say, hey, honey, your back is really bad. I'm tired of you complaining. You're going to go see Dr. Palmer, right? So I joined this women's networking group thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to have all these women coming in. It'll be excellent. No, it was more like social hour. They didn't do networking. They did like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that shirt? Oh, that's so pretty. Oh my gosh, what'd your kids do this weekend? I'm like, I don't have kids. You don't have kids? Yeah. So it did not work. So that was the biggest flop. Magazine ads. I put a magazine ad in the women's magazine, like one patient, and it was like $500 or something ridiculous. Yeah.
Referral.
Yeah, your referral is your best. So the personal connections you can make with the hobbies that you have, with the Toastmasters, with your speaking organizations, with your networking, like like B&I, those are your best because that is like one-to-one. The people get to know you. They refer you amazing people that already get to know you. It works out much better that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
At what point when you're working with a patient do you start instructing them on nutrition?
So I do what's called, wow, that's a loaded question. Back up. Okay. So I really, really love, so my background in undergrad was athletic training. So I'm an athletic trainer. Those are the people that run on the field and see what's going on with the injured athlete. Okay. I really got into nutrition then, but it was more medical, like eat the food pyramid. Have you guys ever tried to eat like the food pyramid? 6 to 12 servings of grain. I was eating bread like crazy, and I'm like, why am I so tired? Too many carbs. So I really got interested in nutrition, and so applied kinesiology has a lot to do with whole food nutrition. But if you've ever taken applied kinesiology, and I think it's amazing, so I'm not bashing it, it's a lot of different steps, and it's a lot of, like, it's so much information. It's great information, but it's all over the place. So it was taking me a half hour to try to process someone, and my results were not so good because it's so many different steps. So now nutritionally I do a technique called nutrition response testing. And it's using its own principles of applied kinesiology, Dr. George Goodhart's work, but it's incorporating their diet. It's incorporating, you know, if they have issues with their thyroid, giving their body the thyroid repair parts that it needs in the form of standard processed products. So the question that you ask is, there are some people that just come to our office for nutrition, and they have chiropractors, and I respect that, and I say, you love your chiropractor, please stay with your chiropractor. And then I have patients that come as chiropractic patients, because a lot of times, just to give you a little clinical pearl, a lot of times people with neck pain, they don't have neck problems. You adjust them and you adjust them and you adjust them, and they're like, they're not any better, they're not any better. Do you know what their problem really is? Their thyroid gland. They're having problems with the thyroid, yes. And they can have thyroid blood work done, and it might come back perfectly until they completely crash on you, and then what do the doctors want to do with that patient? They put them on Synthroid or Armour Thyroid or horse urine and stuff like that. Seriously, Premarin is horse urine. Yeah, yummy. Yep. So, yeah, so the answer to your question is I have some people that come straight away from nutrition, and I have some chiropractic patients that we transition and have them do chiropractic nutrition and massage. So it just depends on your focus and how you want. So when you're in class and you have the extra time to plan, you want to write out, like, this is what I'm going to do with the new patient. So my new patient protocol, patient comes in, they fill out paperwork, we do an exam every single time that includes a history done by me. Because when you do your own history, you establish that rapport with the patient. Some doctors have CAs do their history, and that patient, and the doctor comes in, I'm the doctor, I'll do your exam, and I'll adjust you, and the patient doesn't really get that relationship with you. They don't understand that you really, really care if that's done that way. So we do the history, we do a chiropractic exam, whatever they need to do. Not all million trillion tests that like they make you do in clinic, only what applies. And then a lot of times patients want treatment the first day. So I will treat them on the first day. Now a lot of practice management places will tell you, no, 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 don't do that. You wait, you make them come back for their second visit or their third visit or their fifth visit or whatever. If I'm a patient and I'm in pain, because that's how most people come to chiropractors, they're in pain, I'm going to give that patient some pain relief. And then the next time they're in, I'm going to explain more about chiropractic and what their treatment plan is. Yes. Well, she was first, sorry.
You said you have 9 employees,
Yes.
but you're the only practitioner.
That's correct.
What all do you have? Like, do you have CAs or?
So I have 2 front desk people.
Okay.
I have a project person who puts together seminar packets, and she does all the printing for like putting together new patient chiropractic packs. So this is not like this. My first year in practice, I didn't have 9 employees. I had a half employee, and then that half an employee turned to a 1 employee, and then that 1 employee, maybe in a year or 2, turned to 2 front desk people. And then I've always had a massage therapist, because massage and chiropractic are just beautiful together. Muscles attached to bones. The muscles are tight and they have scar tissue. The patients respond so much better if you address both the soft tissue and the nervous system. That's just my opinion. So anyways, 2 massage therapists, 2 patient advocates, and a registered nurse who helps me with nutrition. Is that all 9?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are you an avid, like, x-ray, like, you x-ray
No.
everybody?
No, I don't even have x-ray in my office. Shh. So I know that it's taught that you should x-ray every single person. So I told you yesterday, yesterday I took care of an 8-week-old baby. Should I x-ray that 8-week-old baby?
No.
They have spine. They had birthing difficulties. I don't believe you should x-ray an 8-week-old baby. I took care of an 8-year-old yesterday. Should I x-ray the 8-year-old?
I wouldn't.
I took care of a 98-year-old the other day. Should I x-ray the 98-year-old? So the question is it depends. So if somebody's in a car accident, no matter what kind, they are getting x-rayed. Because when 2 pieces of metal come together at whatever speed and it dents metal, that's a lot of force. And there could be a fracture in there. So I'm not going to be stupid. I'm going to x-ray them. But if somebody comes in and I'm treating them, if I'm doing chiropractic and my massage therapists are doing massage and they're getting better, why do I need x-rays? Now, if that same person comes in and after 2 weeks they're not any better, or maybe a week, or I think on my exam something really wrong is going on, yeah, I'm going to get x-rays. And how do I get those x-rays? It's right across the street is an imaging company. And that imaging company has radiologists on staff that read x-rays all day long. And so my patients go over there, and if they do have insurance, their insurance will cover that. I don't mess with it at all. The imaging company does that, and patients really like that. So the imaging company deals with their insurance. Yeah, I know. Deals with their insurance, and then they bring me a nice little digital CD of the x-rays and a beautiful x-ray report, radiologist report. And then I'm going to still look at that CD and still read the report and make sure I agree with what the radiologist says. Because I had a patient who went to the hospital that was in a car accident, and she was having this really bad shoulder pain. And I'm like, something's not right with your shoulder. I just don't feel comfortable with it. Like, it didn't get better. And I'm like, we're going to get some x-rays on that shoulder. She goes, but the hospital did x-rays on it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but something's still not right. And so I got the hospital x-rays, and I got the hospital report, and I read the report, and it says negative for fracture. And then I had a preceptor from Palmer, Florida with me, and I said, you know what, look at this x-ray. I think something's really wrong on it. And I was kind of testing the preceptor. And I'm like, what do you see? And they're like, I see a big x-ray. I see a big fracture on the x-ray on the collarbone. I'm like, exactly. Her collarbone was split like this. And the hospital said she had no fracture. So always, 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 whether you're getting films from a hospital or you're using an x-ray company, please, please, please. And then, by the way, if you have patients that get in car accidents and they get transferred to the hospital, this is the exam. Does this hurt? Oh, no, okay. All right, here, take these anti-inflammatories and this pain medication. That's the exam. Huh? Oh, no, they don't even get the ice pack. They get told to put heat on it. Okay, good, so you were with a good hospital. Yeah, so I get patients that are told to put heat on a fresh whiplash injury. So anyway, so I'm gonna be here answering questions. I know some of you guys have to go, right? Yeah, so some of you guys have to go.
We can take her last question.
Last question, okay, last
To
question.
ask you, like, how long do you spend in the initial visit with patients, how much do you charge them, and then?
Okay, yeah, good question. So my initial visit is $50 to $150 cash. Okay, so 50 means it was really easy, and as soon as I did the history, I basically knew what was going on. Or it's a sports injury, and I see the sprained ankle as soon as they walk through the door, right? 150 means that I had to do tons of exams and a real pain in the butt, and it took me forever. Okay, I don't usually charge 150 because we don't accept pains in the butt patients. We send them down the road. And then how long is the first visit with me? It's a half hour. So we have them come in early, they fill out their paperwork. I want them to sit in the waiting room and see how busy we are and know that they're confident they're in the right place. And then we bring them in, we spend a half hour doing their history, their exam, and their treatment. And then sometimes they'll also get massage on that day too. Or sometimes they'll get sent for x-rays. Yep, okay, so I want to thank each and every one of you for spending time with me today. I look forward to seeing all your practices pop up all over the United States, including Orlando with me. And if I could be of any help, you guys have my information, Google me, or look at my website.